what is one problem that I can solve for my listeners better than anybody else is solving that problem?
Are you a high-performing business owner wanting to double your revenue? But maybe you suffer from shiny object syndrome, feeling scattered as you chase the next great idea. Often wondering if you have the right goals and plan with all the thousands of options and strategies available to you. Welcome to Extraordinary Focus with David Wood, where we help you get the laser focus you need so you can double your revenue, achieve way more in less time, and be a more extraordinary entrepreneur and human. Let's dive in and stay tuned for your gift at the end. Welcome everybody to another awesome episode. And I've got such an exciting guest, John Lee Dumas. Is it Dumas or Dumas?
Dumas.
Dumas, John Lee Dumas. JLD is the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, an award-winning podcast where he interviews the world's most successful entrepreneurs. And listeners, if you haven't listened to the first episode with John, go back and listen to that on being an extraordinary entrepreneur and human. JLD, I want to know about having an extraordinary podcast. Now, firstly, can a podcast help an entrepreneur explode their business? Yes or no?
The answer is absolutely yes, if you go about it in the right way. And I can go as deep as you want into this specific area because so many people are just saying, hey, I'm looking at what David Wood's doing. I'm looking at what JLD is doing. I'm looking at what Tim Ferriss is doing in the podcasting world. And I'm just going to do that. And listen, it's important to learn from others. It's important to stand upon the shoulders of giants. I've done that as well, 100%. I have learned from those that have come before me and those that have come after me. I am a lifelong learner. But if you want to achieve the type of success that I know you want with a podcast, especially when you're first starting it off and maybe you don't have this massive audience, maybe you don't have, this like big personal brand right now, you have to say, hey, what is one problem that I can solve for my listeners better than anybody else is solving that problem? And if you've identified a problem and you say, wow, that problem is already being solved by a ton of podcasts, that's okay. That's proof of concept. But now say, hey, what are they missing though? What's a niche I can dive into within that problem? It's like a problem within a problem that I can serve better than all those other competitors, all those other podcasts are doing right now. And you can own that niche. And so that's going to be key to get the initial momentum.
All right. Well, let me ask you, for this podcast, the problem that I solve for entrepreneurs is they're feeling scattered and smothered. Right? They're chasing shiny object syndrome and they're trying to do everything and therefore getting less done. So would you say that there could be a problem within that problem, or is that already pretty targeted?
So if you were 99% of entrepreneurs out there who were, within the first couple of years of getting going and you didn't have a personal brand and you didn't have an audience or a following or all these different things, I'd say, listen, David, that is way too broad. That is a very vague topic because everybody and their mother is having those problems you're talking about. Everybody's scattered. Everybody chases the bright, shiny object syndrome. That's a human being, period, end of story. There's zero way you're going to be able to differentiate yourself from the tens of hundreds of other podcasts that are out there claiming to solve the exact same problem. Asterisk, you're David Wood. So you have an audience. You've been doing this for a long time in a good way, and you've been crushing it. So this is a great topic for you because you've got there. You've put in the reps. You've built the audience. You are there. You are able to, what I say, broaden out into a broad topic like this.
Right.
Now,
although I am switching now to this topic because I've been doing Play for Real, I've been doing tough conversations, I've been coaching coaches, and this is kind of a new niche for me to really zero in on this. So you still think I've got the background to be able to go broad?
You do, absolutely.
Yeah,
but if I was giving to your listeners, most of whom don't have that, I would say, listen, within that, there's multiple singular issues and problems that we can really hone in on that you just start to get your momentum and then you're solving this problem better than anybody else. And then you can broaden out as you get momentum. So people can grow and broaden over time, but they can't start that way.
What's one example of what would be a sub-niche or a sub-problem within the scattered, smothered, shiny object syndrome in your mind?
Okay, so like what is the example of somebody who's like chasing shiny objects. They're always, doing a lot of things. They're chasing things. They're never focusing on one area for a long enough time. So like, what if you created a podcast where literally you were just saying, hey, this is going to be season 1. This is going to be a challenge where I want people to join me, and every day we're going to talk about how you can focus on one thing, how you can just identify complete it and take people through this journey with you. And you're going to be able to do that better than anybody else, because nobody else is willing to do that specific of a show. And you'll get those initial 10, 100, maybe even up to 1,000, raving listeners that can then come with you as you grow the show. Because by the way, as I shared in the last episode about being a better human being, engaging with people, during that little micro niche podcasting time, you're going to be asking those listeners questions like, what is your biggest struggle right now? And they're going to tell you the answers, and you're going to be able to evolve your show based off of what they need.
Yeah, I love that you help drill it down so listeners can take a bigger problem and then find a sub problem within that, like one specific thing, get really good at that, and then you broaden as you go.
Let me give another quick example just to really kind of hammer this home for a lot of people. Like, let's say that, you're like, I'm going to start a podcast on yoga. All right, guess what? A lot of podcasts on yoga. How can we, potentially meld or combine or commingle a couple things that you're passionate and expertise skilled at? So, well, if I talk to you a little bit more, you're also like, well, I'm also like, really passionate about being a vegan. Like I've been a vegan for 10 years now. It's worked well for me. I'm like, okay, now we're talking. So now we're taking yoga, vegan, nutrition, and we're combining it together. And now you're the Yogi Vegan podcast. So now you've taken 2 fairly broad niches that are being talked about by a lot of people, but now you're combining them. So now everybody that's into yoga, but that's also a vegan, or every vegan that wants to learn more about yoga, like that is the podcast for them. Yeah. So that's another way to go about it.
I love that. I'm kind of doing it with this podcast because focus is something that I'm passionate about, but also being extraordinary. So I think the name of the podcast is going to be Extraordinary Focus.
Whoa, that's your combo.
And yesterday I just went to check and I just registered extraordinaryfocus.com. So
wow, that was available. That is,
I know, right?
Extraordinary.
Dude, the fact that was available and focus.ceo was going for $19, there's something aligned. Let me ask you, I get so many questions I want to ask you, but I know we got limited time. Tell me the secret to, you've interviewed Tony Robbins, Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you have a tip for getting those perhaps harder to reach people who are higher profile? What would you recommend?
My recommendation is don't do it. You should not be doing it, because I'll tell you one thing. I run Podcasters Paradise, the biggest and best podcasting community in the world. We've been doing it since 2013. We brought in over 6,000 members. It's a thriving community of podcasters. And one of podcasters' first questions is, John, how do I get the big guests on my show? I'm like, why would you want the big guests on your show? Because you're a terrible interviewer. Why? Because you haven't done it yet. We're all terrible when we start. So why do you want to get on and flub it up with somebody big? And number 2, you haven't earned it yet. You don't have an audience yet. And so you're not going to be bringing any value to them. So you're just going to create a terrible experience overall. But everybody wants that. But I have to just keep beating the drum because, it's the truth. Right. So what I say instead is like, listen, commit to just really going after unbelievably valuable guests for your first year to 2 years, build an audience, then be patient. Then you wait and you say, oh, Tony Robbins is launching a book, Money Master the Game. He's in promotion mode. Oh, Tim Ferriss is launching a book, 4-Hour Chef. Oh, he's in promotion mode. So when they're in promotion mode, then you go all in with a valuable and proven show that you can say, hey, I'm getting 10,000 listens a month of people that are ideally, going to be buying your book or your program. Like, let's do this. That's how you do it the right way. Because guess what? You'll also have some skills by that time as a podcaster. And That's what it's all about.
Earn your stripes, build yourself up. I feel a sense of relaxing in my body hearing that. Because it's like, hey, don't have to be instantly successful at this thing. Just build up, get really good at it, have a good time, and it'll happen. It'll happen. There'll be like also that's something I found useful. You get one guest that's got a name, and then leverage that. to another. Like the fact that you've been on the show now, I'll mention that. The fact that Jack Canfield's been on my other podcast and Byron Katie, that often helps. But I understand get your chops.
Listen,
right?
When the time is right and you start getting great guests and you start crushing it with them because you're a great interviewer and you're actually bringing them value because you actually have an audience, then it's a snowball effect in a great direction, because you're going to be able to keep getting recommendations. You're going to be able to keep leveraging those names just like you just shared. And it's all amazing, but the timing has to be right.
Yeah, man, this is awesome. I know we've got about 60 seconds. So we've got one problem, get a sub problem within that. Go and check out Podcasters Paradise, guys. John's community of podcasters.
I'd even say, honestly, if you're listening, go to freepodcastcourse.com. It's a free podcasting course. You want to learn more about it. It's about launching and creating your podcast completely for free.
It's free podcast or podcasting?
freepodcastcourse.com.
freepodcastcourse.com. And then we've also got, as you build up, approach people in promotion mode. Is there one last short tip that you'd offer? Anything you want to say to someone who wants to have an awesome podcast that impacts the world?
If you want to have an awesome podcast, it starts with you, and it starts with the topic you're going to dive into. So many people just go for something they're passionate about. That's a hobby. Some people just go for things that they're expertise or knowledgeable in. Like, that's just going to be boring for you because you don't have any passion in it. Just because you're good at it doesn't mean you have passion. So it has to have that combination. How can you combine passion and excitement with skills, knowledge, and expertise? Overlap that. That's where your podcasting topic's going to lie. So you're going to be excited about doing it every day, and you're going to be bringing value to the world. Those are the two combinations, because no matter how great your show is or is going to be, if you're not going to still be excited about doing it 2, 3, 4 years down the line, you're not going to build the type of audience and show you want.
Time. And to be a more extraordinary entrepreneur and human, make sure you get our gift basket. It includes a cheat sheet with the first step to doubling your revenue, a short video roadmap, and a free double your revenue audit where we identify the low-hanging fruit in your business. To get all 3 of these goodies, just go to myfocusgift.com. If you got value out of this episode, tell your friends. And nothing says keep up the good work, David, like a review, which helps us climb in the rankings and to reach more listeners. Now, let's be extraordinary.